Holo is back, guys. Holo is back. We have Spice and Wolf episode 1 of the new adaptation is finally here, and I could not be more overjoyed. When everybody asks me, hey, what series would you like to get more of or a new adaptation? It's always Spice and Wolf. I absolutely love the series. I watched the original anime, fell in love with it, bought the whole light novel series, started reading it up to volume 4. Absolutely love it. And here we are with a new adaptation that I just am already absolutely in love with. Just the new design, the new look, the colors are just popping. It looks great. I like the new design of Holo. I know that's a little bit of a mixed feelings on that for a lot of people. I think it better matches the light novel art personally, so it works for me. But yeah, watched the first episode, absolutely loved it. I am a little bit upset that it doesn't look like they're going to do what I was hoping they were going to do with this new adaptation, which is be more faithful to the source material. It does look like they're still glossing over things, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I'll get into that in a minute. I want to get my brief thoughts on the episode itself before I get into that stuff, so let's dive into it. Yes, for those that don't know, Spice and Wolf opens up with Kraft Lawrence. He's a traveling merchant. He's 25 years old. He's been traveling for 7 years. He's pretty good at his trade, but he's still trying to, get up enough money so that he can get his own shop. And yes, he goes to this one village where he ends up, running into them doing a festival for this harvest goddess. And at some point when he goes to leave, yes, he finds in his carriage Holo, the wise wolf. And after she convinces him by transforming herself, at that point he decides to believe that she is possibly, in fact, this wise wolf, and decides to allow her to travel with him. Getting into the idea that, yes, Holo herself came from up north, and she wants to return there. It seems like, according to him, never heard of that town, but sure, if you're traveling with me, make sure you help pay up. It's a tough job, so you got to do your part. Well, she agrees. She's like, I'm not going to eat for nothing. Why would I do that? So, yeah, that's the gist of this first episode, is that specifically. And like I said, great episode so far. I think visually it looks fantastic. There was a little bit of downer on the use of CGI, but unlike the PV, which had me very worried, it didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought that the wagon itself was going to be ugly CGI the whole time. It didn't bother me. Yes, there was some crowds that were CGI that was kind of but nothing that really stands out. I think overall it looks really good. I think the colors are just very lush. And again, like I said earlier, I do like Holo's new design. Matches more to the light novel. She looks super cute. I love that they didn't Urusei Yatsura the show. For those that don't know, Urusei Yatsura, very much so. They cut back on a lot of the skin. And with this one, they didn't do that, which I really do like. It just kind of just showed everything, which again is to the point of the story itself. Him finding her first time getting back into this body, and yes, eventually stealing his clothes. Eventually stealing his nice fancy clothes. But yeah, she looks fantastic. I think she looks gorgeous. I was a little bit bummed that they didn't show her actually transform, which again in the novel they did. But yeah, so far the story's great. I think they've done a pretty good job of kind of setting up the setting so far, that we have this inclusion of the church itself. People are getting rid of the old gods. They're moving on to the church and the new gods. More so kind of emphasizing, yes, that they are still wanting to celebrate these old pagan festivals just for fun. But yeah, that they kind of can't push back against the church. Now, the novel series does kind of emphasize that the church itself seemingly is losing power, but that's what we're getting a gist of so far, is that it's out with the old, in with the new, and yes, the control the church has. And a lot of emphasis on the idea of those that are possessed and how they can bring misfortune, and yes, the hopes that Holo herself, being a goddess of harvest, can bring him fortune. And yes, the trade that Lawrence does, and his experience in doing what he does, and his hopes for the future. So that's kind of the gist of the episode so far, and I think it's done a great job so far of kind of establishing the world itself, Lawrence himself, and yes, his new goal with Holo at his side, which is traveling, doing his trade, and hopefully one day bring Holo back to the north. Yeah, I'm super looking forward to the future episodes. I think the thing right now that I'm really wanting to know if they'll pull off, and they pulled off really well with the original anime adaptation, is Lawrence and Holo's chemistry. We're not really getting too much of that so far, because the two major scenes that we get of them, well, there's three technically. The first one is the confusion. The second scene is the establishment of what we're going to be doing. And then the third one is a brief moment of seeing that chemistry and the idea that she stole his clothes and he wants them back and he's going to make her work and all that kind of stuff. I really want to see, yes, it's returning staff here. We have returning directors. We have returning seiyus, all that kind of stuff. But I want to see if they can nail that chemistry between the two of them, because that is literally half of the show, at least half of the show and half of the novel series, what makes it so great is that chemistry. It's the two of them working together and, sometimes at odds with each other. I will admit, like I said earlier, I was really hoping with this new adaptation that they would be a lot more faithful to the source material. What I mean by that, let's be perfectly clear. The first anime adaptation did its own stuff. For one, Yare was a chick. They made Yare into Chloe, and Chloe was pretty much an anime original character. And so that was an oddity there. But they still had these original scenes in this new adaptation. They didn't replace Yare with Chloe, so we get to see him with Yare. But the whole scene with Lawrence returning back to the village wasn't there in the novel series. So for some reason, after Claff Lawrence has Holo transform, he suddenly goes back to the village. It makes no sense, but yet they still did it with this adaptation. He just goes back. And I think that's because they're trying to establish the whole out with the old and with the new. I think it's possibly because this scene was in both versions. It's possibly the original author wanted them to do that with the old one and with this one as well, to kind of give us a full sense of what's going on here. What's going on in the world itself, and which is, again, is the idea of the church sort of pushing out the old. And yes, these new people, like this new count that has taken over this land, bringing them science, I guess. He's the count that has taken over this land, this lord that has taken over this land. He is a person that likes to harvest. That's why he has that knowledge. That's why he bestowed it upon them, is because he likes to till the land himself. And these are techniques that he learned. So they're going from having to rely on this old pagan goddess to essentially now be able to have a bountiful harvest every single year using these new methods. So there's a reason why they've forgotten about Holo, which I think was really well portrayed in this adaptation, is how that's affecting Holo. That she is feeling like she's no longer needed. Yes, I came here a long time ago. This person wasn't fearful of me, just like you. It's very rare. And she asked me to take care of the harvest. And so I did that. I kept that promise. But now, they no longer need me. Which is a very important thing here, because this is, again, what kind of adds into Lawrence's character is he's lonely too. And so he does sort of accept, okay, she's like me. She's lonely. She's been given up by the society. She has no people. So that's why she wants to go back up north. Which, again, I think is probably the biggest upset that I have for this new adaptation, is not getting enough into Lawrence's head. Again, Lawrence right here, at least for this entire first chapter, Lawrence in his own head is lonely. He's been traveling for 7 years. He has no companions. They even joke about the idea that some merchants, when they travel for so long, they start to see their horse as humans. At some point, their horse will transform into a human. They even have this joke about when he bought his horse, the merchant was suggesting he buys a mare, because one day it could turn into a human. So there's like a lot of talk about his loneliness. And I like how that's ultimately why he chooses to bring Holo with him. He likes this banter that he is having with Holo at this last scene where she takes his clothes. He likes this banter, and that's why he chooses to bring Holo with him. Yes, part of it's because he's hoping that she'll, bless his trade and everything, give him fortune. But a lot of it has to do with him just being lonely. And now he finally has somebody that's with him. So it's kind of an important thing. And like I said, I kind of wish a lot of this stuff was kind of included with this new adaptation, but it could be something they can express in some other way in the future of this series. So I'm not too against it. The other big thing they kind of skipped out on this particular adaptation is how much emphasis of those that are demon-possessed is. When he first finds Holo, yes, he's shocked by her ears, but he immediately assumes it's because she's possessed. He's heard tons of stories of people that are born demon-possessed, and what the family does is they'll either discard them in the mountains, they'll lock them up in a room, hide them away from society, or they'll give them up to the church to be killed, because the church will see them as bringers of misfortune. And so he immediately just assumes, okay, this Holo is possibly some kid that was in the village that got out and jumped in my wagon. So he wants to bring him back there. So that's why he eventually goes, okay, well, because she's so youthful and beautiful, prove it to me. Show me that you are this Holo, and I will bring you with me instead, because you will bring me fortune rather than misfortune as being possessed. So that's why that decision ultimately comes up. Like I said, a little bit of a bummer that they cut that she actually showed him. He actually was able to touch her arm. She makes her arm turn into a leg of the wolf, and he's able to touch it, even touch the paw and everything like that. And that's what's kind of bugging him afterwards, is like, I asked you to do that, and yet then I was fearful. Kind of feels bad about that. But again, it's not a big deal. They might end up showing the whole scene of her transforming maybe at the beginning of the next episode. We'll see. But really great start so far. It looks, again, like I said, gorgeous. Again, loved seeing Holo herself. She looked gorgeous. Again, I'm happy they didn't censor that. She looks just absolutely elegant and beautiful. So that all works. I like her new design. And yeah, really looking forward to the future episodes. Like I said before, I really am hoping they nail the chemistry. And I'm glad they got the seiyus back. So far, Holo is just completely nailing it, the seiyu for Holo. I'm just hoping that, I think this time, I'm more hoping they'll nail Kraft's character, even without that inner dialogue all the time. At least vocalize it in some way that we can kind of understand his character better this time around, because honestly, it wasn't until I read the novel series that I got Lawrence's character. I understood why he was the way he was, because the original anime, I liked Holo, but I didn't care much for Kraft's fine, but I never got into his character. And it wasn't until I started reading the novel series that I started getting into his character. So I'm hoping they'll nail his character in some other way this time around. And that too, don't skip a certain volume. Because yes, the first anime adaptation skipped an entire volume, so hopefully they'll adapt it this time. We got 2 cores. Honestly, when I heard they were doing a new adaptation, yes, one side was like hoping that because they're announcing this and because they're doing this, they might actually do a full adaptation. It seems like that might be the case based on the first few minutes of the episode, which is, by the way, massive spoiler. I think they're kind of implying they could do a full adaptation here. But at the same time, I was kind of hoping they would get a lot more of the original source material properly adapted rather than doing a lot of original stuff. But we'll see. That's my thoughts on the first episode so far. Really loving it. Can't wait for more. I'm not sure if I'm going to do like whole skip content kind of stuff with every single episode, because that's a lot of work. I'm already doing Mushoku Tensei every Sunday, so we'll see. But definitely, if you like this content and you want to see more, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around. Additionally, if you like this content, hit that like button. And if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips, links, or thanks membership button down below. Greatly appreciate it. Check out this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and y'all take care.